Thank you for joining us. I'm Katie Brown, along with two Oregon State legends. I'm so honored to be here with Steve Quarry and with Slade Norris tonight to break everything down and get ready for the season. There is so much to talk about this year, so much change in the offseason. So as we head into the opener, in your opinion, what are the big storylines to look for?
You know, I think one of the biggest ones is how the team takes to what Coach Anderson is bringing. You know, we hear all about the physical part and the practices being more physical and the mentality being physical. Do they accept it? Are the roles going to, say, hey, this is the way it's going to be, and the players really show it when they play Friday night? Or is it going to take a little while to get that mentality? Slade, I don't know.
There's so many. Is Coach Anderson's new style going to take? How about the changes in offense, the changes in defense, or the quarterback battle? What do we want to talk about? There's so much this year. I'm excited for everything.
Well, we want you to join the conversation, too. What are you excited about? What are you concerned about? So tweet in tonight, just hashtag BeaversFB, and we will get to as many of your tweets as we can and get these guys to add their insights to what you ask. So go ahead and send those in. And, of course, one of the big storylines heading in is the two-quarterback system. Having two freshmen, two guys who have never seen college action, one true freshman coming out of high school. Have you ever gone into battle with a completely inexperienced quarterback coach?
You know what's kind of funny about what you say, too? There's two of them. You don't even have one as a backup guy that's played a little bit. Hey, the surprise is a freshman's going to start. The two kids have never played, and that is an unusual situation in a college setting. And I think that, one of them's been there for a year, but it's a whole different system, like you talked about, Slade. And then the other one, Coach Anderson and his group brought in. So it's going to be interesting to see the contrast of the two of them and see which one starts to rise. At some point, sooner than later, one of them's got to rise above, and I hope it's sooner than later, to be real honest. I'm not a huge fan of a two-quarterback system, but I understand what Coach Anderson's trying to do and figuring it out.
I think with what they have, the two-quarterback system might be able to work in this case, just because they're both good at what they do. Seth comes in, and he's the gunslinger type. He's an emotional guy. He can go in and make big plays with his feet. He's a great athlete. And then Marcus comes in. He's the more accurate passer, the calmer, the guy who really prepares for the game. All offseason long, coaches have said he's in our offices asking us, what can I do better? How can I improve my game? And so they bring such different things to the table. I'm excited to see what they do with them. And they both better improve quickly because they're at the big house next week.
Oh, boy.
All right. It is time for the Toyota interview. Toyota, let's go places. And in tonight's edition, it's all about the quarterbacks. Advice for the quarterbacks, starting with Marcus McMaryion talking about the advice he received from former Beaver Lyle Moyback.
Hopefully it doesn't happen to me, but Lyle shared a story with me. He said his first throw, he threw a pick, and he said the camera's going to go right on you. As soon as it happens, he said the only thing I could advise to you is just smile it off and laugh and make sure everyone knows you're all right and you're still in there to battle.
All the coaches, like Coach McGiven and Baldwin, they just say just play within the offense. So we should go out there and just do what we've been doing in practice, and even though it's going to be a little bit different, just try to maintain.
I sometimes can't even tell. Like during practices, the ball comes. I don't even look at the quarterbacks half the time. So I just both their games. It's obviously it's a little bit different, but both of them can play. So I'm just excited to see what they can do in their first college game. They ain't gonna be nervous. They have enough weapons around them that they should be fine. You just gotta give it to whoever.
Seth is very versatile in his game, and Marcus is Marcus reminds me of like a Jameis Winston type of quarterback. He can run, but at the same time, he's a very good passer. So that's probably the differences in them.
I know we are all waiting to see which one runs out onto the field first on the opening game, but they're very different. We talked about them both being young, but they have different skill sets. So Seth Collins seemed to be the leader at first, and Marcus McMaryion came on. So what can they do for this team?
Well, I tell you, I think that, first off, they're going to have to grasp the offense, the zone read stuff. I think that the quarterbacks in the new wave of football in this offense, it's about making plays like that where you're
like
jumping over guys.
Like a track star.
That's exactly right. Jumping over guys and making big plays. They're first going to make it, I think, with their feet, till they settle in. I think the athletes that they are, give them an opportunity. That the first big plays and big things you're going to see them do, I think, is going to be running around and running with the ball.
Well, as they transition from the pro-style offense under Mike Riley to the more spread offense that they're getting to, and so they have some athletes now to do that. And Seth Collins, we saw that jump there. I mean, very athletic.
And if you look back at the history of Oregon State quarterbacks, they haven't necessarily done well their first year, but that's because it's Mike Riley's system. That pro-style offense is extremely difficult to learn and go in and execute right from the start. This spread system, the reads are a lot easier, and so these guys are coming in having a much easier time transitioning to this kind of offense. So I think we can expect some success from these guys. Like you said earlier, I think a lot's going to come from their feet at first, but as the game starts to slow down from them, I expect to see these wide receivers, these veteran guys, really help them out there.
I got one piece of advice for both of them. Don't jump over, guys, and know when to get down. Because
that's coming from a coach, of course.
That's right.
Well, we saw some video there of Seth Collins, and we've heard all about the athleticism and his ability to run with the ball. But Marcus McMaryion brings his own skill set, and a lot of people have described as a little more steady with his game. So what can we expect to see from him?
Well, I would think, and not knowing a lot, not have seen him a lot, but coming from a recruit of Mike Riley's, I would think he'd be able to sling the ball a little bit better just naturally, I think, probably coming out of high school. So I look for him to be a little bit of a mixture of a guy that's going to make big plays like this and run around, and also be able to stand back there and throw the ball a little bit maybe more effectively, Slade, until Collins gets his feet under him.
I completely agree with you. Like I said earlier, he's the more calm, collected type. He's not going to have a problem with hitting the checkdowns. He's not like Seth. Seth wants those huge, big plays, and he's okay with hitting the checkdowns, with marching down the field with a cool, collective, Coach Riley, Sean Mannion kind of thing, to where he just gets the job done. And the team needs that.
Right.
What should we look for early in the game as they're both seeing their first college action? I mean, what's going to be critical to see from them?
Well, I think mistakes, that seeing how they're handling just the pressure of getting the cadence right, getting people lined up, not being in a hurry to get things going so they're offside. Just the nerve part of it. You're starting out. Luckily, they're at home. I think that's a huge deal when you're young as they are, to start at home in the confines of Reser Stadium.
Especially when you'll be playing in front of 110,000 people next week, right?
That'd make me a little nervous. I wouldn't think it too far ahead, because that might scare me in this game.
All right. Well, we are just getting started on #Beavers Football. And again, we invite you to join the show by tweeting in. But now, Widmer Brothers, let's see what's on tap, brought to you by Widmer Brothers. As we come back, we will take a look at Weber State, the opening opponent. We'll also talk about the defense, a lot of changes in the schemes, and Gary Anderson, what is expected of him in his first year as Oregon State head coach. It's not just going to be in the stands and the shirts and the sweatshirts tomorrow. On the field, look at that. Very cool. The athletic department tweeting out this week as they put Benny in the red, white, and blue in the center of the field. So the salute to the troops will be everywhere at Reser Stadium for the home opener. That's fun, and I love all that garb.
Really that looks great.
Yeah, that looks fantastic.
Slade, good work over there, buddy.
Oh, thank you.
Great, man.
Slade,
Anything for America.
Well, I, of course, caught the season premiere of Talkin' Beavers last night, and I learned a few things about you. Sweet Slade Norris, Studley Slade Norris.
Mike's really laying it on this year. I'm happy with it.
All right, good. Those are both good nicknames for you. All right, well, of course, for the opener, a first-year head coach for Oregon State, a second-year head coach for Weber State, and these two guys have a lot of history together. They go back 2 decades together, Jay Hill and Gary Anderson. Jay Hill, this is his first head coaching job at Weber State. His first season last year, he went 2-10 on the season. And he coached before that. He coached at Utah. He was the cornerbacks coach under Gary Anderson when he was the defensive coordinator. And then before that, 20 years ago, Coach Anderson recruited him to play at Utah. So these guys go way back. In fact, Coach Anderson said that coaching against him makes him feel really, really old.
I get the feeling that Coach Anderson, I know what he means by that. Yeah, that's kind of a neat deal, though, really. He's been around, Coach Hill's been around Coach Anderson, and they've I'm sure learned a lot from him. Now all of a sudden he's going up against him. What a great feeling for him. It's a kid he recruited. A lot of great history there, and it's going to be fun for the two of them. It's not going to be fun for that 60 minutes of the game, but they're going to be after each other, but it's going to be fun. The storyline's kind of cool.
And even outside of just the two head coaches, there's a lot of connections with the rest of the coaching staff, and it all comes from that state of Utah there. These teams should be prepared for each other very well. They should know each other, and the game should be a lot of fun to watch.
Well, we talked about the rough season they had last year into the first year. Obviously, this is a rebuilding project for Jay Hill, just like Gary Anderson has gotten into at Oregon State. So what can we expect from them, Slade? What kind of team is this?
Weber State had a rough year last year. Only 2 wins. However, the 2 wins, it was the last 2 out of 3 games they got their wins. They kind of came on strong late in the process. They started their quarterback, Jadrian Green, and he really had a lot of success back there. He threw for, 902 yards with 7 TDs. He's a great athlete. He can run around, which causes a lot of pain for Oregon State fans. However, we got a different defense this year, so I don't think we'll have that same problem as the past.
Coach Anderson doesn't have much trouble with those kind of teams.
Coach Anderson doesn't,
At least not
Looks
the last
like it.
6
team's
years.
been a problem for him, which is a great thing for us. But one more thing, Cameron Livingston, their wide receiver, he's something we really have to look out for. I don't see them being able to run the ball against us, and so I see him airing the ball out a lot. We've got to contain that guy.
Yeah, and I think, a couple things about them. They have 15 returning starters. Now, good and bad. They only won 2 games, so those 15 guys coming back, who knows? But they've got some experience, coming back in. I think Coach Hill's rebuilding. So how long is that going to take? It's usually a 3 or 4 year plan. So this is in his 2nd year. So they hope to be in the game early to have a chance, so they feel a little better. I think that this is a tough game for them,
especially with how young they are. They only have 11 seniors on the team, and
like
so
Oregon
they're looking
State's
at
13.
same
It's kind
thing.
of funny how that is.
A lot of likenesses between the 2 teams.
And we hate to bring it up, but Beaver fans, so many were in the stands
Katie.
the last couple of years when they had some trouble with, some of those Big Sky teams coming in with Eastern Washington and with Sacramento State. And so, but obviously, I like to point out Eastern Washington, they didn't really get beat by them. They got beat by Vernon, who's in Eugene now,
That's
right?
Yes.
And it's hard for Weber State to prepare for this game just because it is a new coaching staff. It's a completely different style than what's on tape last year for Oregon State. So, granted, they can watch what Anderson did over Wisconsin and what he brings to the table there, but you haven't seen those athletes in this new offense. So, coming from an old ex-player perspective, it's hard to prepare for a team like that the first game of the season.
Yep, I agree, and I think that this is a very tough opener for Weber State. Let's face it, they're not the caliber of team that even in the Big Sky, they're struggling to get back to where they are. So Oregon State needs to do what the Oregon State needs to do, and that's take care of business, do it early. Don't give Weber a chance to even think they can be in the game, and then I think it's going to work out for them.
But don't overlook them.
No, we've seen that and heard that. Katie had to bring those bad memories up, didn't she?
Hey, I was there for both of them. It hurt. It hurt bad. All right, later in the show, we will talk more about Coach Anderson, what to expect from him in his first season as coach. Highly touted coming in. But coming up next, we've talked about the inexperience in Corvallis, but there is one group, there's more experience there and a lot more expected.
We played last year, we came in the same class, so we've known each other for a while. So we just have that camaraderie that we do, we know what we're going to do. We don't have to really talk to each other a lot on the field because, I let them handle them, they let me handle me, and we just like in the season, we just play. We just go out there and play. Every once in a while, we're probably going to have fun, just because we all good friends and stuff. But, it's just, I'm glad that all the receivers came back just because, it helps the quarterback out too and makes this offense go.
Jordan Villeman talking about how tight the wide receivers are, and here's proof of it. Last weekend, Coach Brennan tweeting out this picture of them all together celebrating Villeman's birthday. That definitely looks like a big happy family.
That looks like a cozy group, doesn't it?
It
I love
certainly
seeing
does.
Now, that's good stuff.
That's one of the reasons why I went to Oregon State, that family atmosphere. And I'm glad to see with the coaching change that Corvallis has still been able to keep that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what a difference a year makes, because last year here we had Sean Mannion and we talked about who's he going to throw it to with Brandon Cooks leaving, and this year now this group is one of the most experienced positions with guys coming back, and we've got a new quarterback. So you take a look at, we'll start with Jordan Villeman. What's he going to bring to the table?
Look at this kid. He's enormous. 6'5", 231. I mean, he's a basically a tight end out there that's faster than anybody else.
He really is.
He's so big and so strong. He's a great red zone target for us. I'm excited to see what he does because he still has the speed to get over the top.
And, there's so much bump and run now where there are guys up in your face, and it's hard to do that with a big physical receiver like he is. So I expect him to be able to physically get off the line as well as his quickness and athleticism. I think he showed flashes of brilliance last year. I really do. And so I expect a lot from him. Now, someone's got to get him the ball and got to get it close where he can get it. That's going to be key because he'll get open. He'll find spots. He'll catch it in traffic with his big body. He's a big enough target that you don't have to be right on the money to throw it to him. I expect high things from that kid.
6 touchdowns, just 5 starts last year. We'll see a lot more this year, I'm expecting.
And then we have the guy that a lot of people kind of put the next Brandon Cooks, or the guy to kind of slide into that role, not 6'5", that's for sure.
I like these little guys.
That's Victor Bolden. We saw flashes of brilliance from him.
And again, I think it was a little unfair for this kid, to be honest with you, when he came in and start comparing him to Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is in a class by himself, but this kid has done some great things. I think each year he's gotten better, more physical. He's bigger, even though he's not the biggest kid. He can run, and I'm going to be very interested to see, Slade, how they get him the ball. The fly sweep, is that part of what they're doing? They're going to throw it out on the perimeter to him? Is it going to be middle screens? Got to find ways to get him the ball, try to get him in space and use his speed.
You said flashes of brilliance. That's a good way to put it because there's one flash and he's gone.
Yeah.
I love what he brings to the table, and they will. They'll use him in every way possible, motioning him all over the field, trying to get guys to track him. All that will do, too, is help the quarterback see what kind of defense that is, and they're motioning him around, see if the guy's following him over. It's going to be a lot of benefit to us having him on the field.
And with Dave Baldwin's new offense and new approach to everything, it's just going to be a whole different look overall for Oregon State, compared to what we've seen for many years.
We're in the new wave now.
We
Katie.
are. We are.
I want to talk about one more guy, though, a wide receiver. The freshman, Paul Lucas. He's a lot like Victor Bolden.
Is he? Good.
Ton of speed, and I'm excited to see how they get him on the field because they're not burning his redshirt year for just no reason.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Exciting.
Well, there is one wide receiver who is mixing things up and going to a completely different position this year, and that is Malik Gilmore, who is converting to linebacker, and Coach Anderson talked about that transition.
Well, we need to get those tall, athletic kids that can run on the edges, and quite frankly, what drove that was Malik. Malik wants the opportunity to do what's best for the team. That's going to give him an opportunity to get on the field and compete. And right now, that's exactly where it is. And, it was really he approached us more than us approaching him. It had been discussed, but he was all in and very excited about the opportunity. So we'll see how it goes here in the next couple of weeks. But first 2 days in, it's been a good experiment.
A couple of tweets coming in on the transition. Josh Spencer saying Malik Gilmore is really moving to linebacker. That is a drastic position change. And then Josh chiming again, curious if Coach Sitake has a vision of making him the Beaver version of Nate Orchard. Sitake is a defensive genius, no doubt. Well, Slade, nobody can speak to sort of what that would entail better than you with linebacker. Or you didn't play receiver, but what do you envision?
High school I did.
High school
there
you
we
did.
Go.
Okay, there
Man
we
of
got
many
the connection.
talents. He'll be a little different than Nate Orchard just because of the body size. But, look no further than last season, Obum Gwacham. He came down from a wide receiver playing defensive end, and now he's fighting for the Seahawks against the Raiders tonight. So that position change, yeah, it is huge. It's drastic. But being a wide receiver, defensive coverages because you have to read them constantly depending on your route. And so the pass coverage, he shouldn't have a problem with adjusting too much. It's the run fits he'll have to work on. That's going to be the big challenge.
Yeah, he is. First off, I know the kid personally. What a great kid. I mean, he is a super kid and a winner. He's also a big body. He's an athlete. And for him to come to the coaches and say, you know what, I'd like to make this change, I think he realized, hey, I'm not going to play here. I want to play. So he has a great desire to play. He's got a big body. He's a great kid. He's a winner. He's got a lot of things going for him. How long it's going to take him to transition, that's the key question.
That's huge. When you have it initiated by him,
right,
and they're not trying to force it on him,
right.
Makes a huge
and
difference.
It's such a selfless act because this guy's been catching touchdowns all his life, and now all of a sudden he wants to switch to defense. I mean, what's best for the team, that's what I'm going to do.
So he's mentally there, and that's another big step for the guy. So, hey, don't be surprised if he, makes that transition easier than we think.
Making the transition and stepping into a whole new defense. We alluded to the changes on offense, big changes on defense, too. And coming up later we'll explain the new 3-4 defense that you will see on the field this season. But coming up next, expectations for Gary Anderson, his first season in Corvallis.
When you have an opportunity to hire somebody like Gary Anderson, what a great hire. I mean, he's a heck of a football coach.
His teams always play hard, they play tough, they play clean.
When I think of a Gary Anderson football team, you're going to have a team that's very disciplined, very tough, very physical. He's a guy that brings a level of blue-collar toughness to his team. I think the learning curve will be quick.
He just made the move to Wisconsin the year before, so he went through that process, and so now he's doing it again. So I'm sure he learned a lot of lessons there.
Does things the right way. He's a guy that's going to build the program the way they want it built.
I think he's got a great reputation in the coaching circles. I think he's a very hard worker. I think he's a respectable man.
They've got a great coach there at Oregon State, and he'll do well. He'll figure it out. He always does.
We hired Coach Anderson, and the rest was history. You know, a guy came here so passionate, so honest, so real to us that you couldn't do nothing but buy in.
He's just so intense and so focused, and just everything he says, I believe it.
You can see it in his eyes, you know, he's just like focused. He's a very focused person, you know, you can see it.
We bought in from day one, and I think that's why we're seeing the changes we did and seeing the growth we did as a program, and we're excited that football season's right around the corner.
Immediately has the respect of his peers in the Pac-12 and his players. And this was the tweet from the athletic department last December. We're excited to announce our new head coach, Gary Anderson. Let's welcome him to Corvallis. And it was a huge announcement. There were all this talk about what coordinator are they going to bring in and give somebody their first opportunity. And then they go out and land Wisconsin fans like, what just happened? How'd we lose this guy?
Boy, that was a big deal, wasn't it? I mean, it came out of nowhere almost. You know? What an exciting move for Oregon State.
But Slade, just getting the respect from your peers is fantastic. But when you enter the players there and you're hearing intense focus, immediate buy-in, everything he says, he has the ear of that team. It's just right away. And so obviously this is a turnaround. But when you can get the respect that early, I have to imagine that's huge.
I got to first mention, you're talking about the peers. Look at the quality of coaches in the Pac-12 this year. I mean, it's incredible, and that speaks a lot to how deep the Pac-12 is now. Going on to Coach Anderson, I really believe that they bought in so quickly because he is so upfront and honest with his players. And I've played, a lot of different places. I jumped around a lot of different teams in the NFL, and there's just some coaches that you feel like you can't trust. And if you feel that way, it's impossible for you to ever buy in. And with him coming in, being honest and upfront with the guys right from the start, that's why you hear all the things about, we bought in from day one. Everything that he says, I believe in. I think that's huge.
Yeah, the buy-in part's huge. Very impressive listening to those coaches talk about it, too. Like you said, Katie, got so much respect, not only in the league, but around the country. I think that, he came in a situation where we all kind of said, wow, Gary Anderson's coming here from Wisconsin. I think the players were like that. Then with his first meeting, he set the tone of the way it was going to be. The buy-in started right away. They were going to follow him. He's proven that he's done it before. So I think that, he set the tone. He's got everything in the right. It's still the honeymoon, but he set the tone right where you want it right now, and the kids are really buying in.
And all huge respect to Coach Riley. I mean, everything he accomplished in his career here, but they are two very different men.
They sure are, and it starts Slade from, Mike Riley is an offensive guy. Coach Anderson's a defensive guy. So right there, the mentality we know right away, just from an offense-defense standpoint. But yeah, they're totally different. One thing I will say, there's a lot of common ground they have too. I think from both of them, I know Coach Riley, personally, and Coach Anderson seems the same way. He is very concerned about his players. He's concerned about what kind of men they're going to grow up. He's going to give them life lessons. Hats off to him. I really respect that, and I've always respected that from Mike Riley.
And that's why he'll fit in so well at Oregon State, because they're used to that. But playing with Coach Riley, the inspiration to play, those pregame talks, the fire that you need in the locker room before those games, Anderson brings that. He's a fiery guy. He's a focused, intense guy, and it's going to be amazing to see what they do just come out of the gate this year.
All right, well, when we talk about the change, we went to a couple of guys who were there last year and back this year to talk about the change in Corvallis.
I think it's been like a good transition as far as like coming from the old coaching staff to the new coaching staff. This coaching staff is a lot of energy, a lot of fun. We're excited to come here every day and learn and practice. I'm looking forward to the season. I know they are, and I think they're expecting big things out of us, and we're expecting big things out of ourselves.
Ever since they first got here, everybody's just been more excited every day. So it's just nice with the new change. So I guess all the new changes around here is just everybody's just getting excited about. We talked about getting the new facility and stuff. It's just the first year with Coach Anderson, so the whole town is pretty much excited. Like if you ask around, so that's just the whole vibe. Everybody's just ready to go, waiting to see what we could do.
And this is sort of interesting. College football players around the nation were asked, other than your own coach, who is the best coach in the country? Who would you want to play for? And no surprise, the top of that list, you got Nick Saban.
Pretty good ones there.
A couple of national championships there, but Gary Anderson came in third there.
Wow. That's amazing to see, the amount of national respect, because he has coached all over, and you know what? I think a lot of those votes are a lot of his ex-players of which he was still playing for their teams.
That's probably right. That's a funny poll almost. It is. They have to be the ones that know him, so I mean that's good. But hey, third amongst that group there, that's pretty darn good.
All right, but when you talk about, do we need to temper expectations? Obviously, he's turned around, Utah State. What he did there was incredible, taking him to 16th in the nation after they weren't anywhere when he arrived. But it doesn't happen overnight.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's going to take time. Slade and I were talking earlier this evening. Patience, Beaver fans. That's going to be the word for you. Patience. It's going to take some time. We're taking an offense and a defense that is totally different from what you have. So you don't have all the players that you need. It's going to take him time to get those players. Remember this. We have lost 12 out of the last 14 conference games. We've got 5 of our conference games away from home. So, I mean, we've got a tough task ahead, Coach Anderson and the Beavers, they do. So patience. He's going to get it done. He's going to turn it around. But it's not going to happen overnight, period.
The biggest key you said there was he's not only coming into a new team, but they're installing a new offense and a new defense. So they have these players that weren't recruited for those positions. So you're kind of, taking these ingredients and kind of plugging them in and just hoping to see where they fit because you didn't recruit these guys. You don't know what they can do yet. Let's see how this season goes, but as it comes along, don't get frustrated. The biggest thing I want to look for with this team is passion and fire. Because last year, I feel like we had a better team than what we performed at the level 2. So this year, I want to see them finish plays. I want to see them fight the whole game. I want to see them, even if they hit the wrong gap, hit it with fire and go mess something up. Because even if you hit the wrong gap, you can still make a play.
Right. They bring that mentality that Coach has been talking about, too. I think you're going to see that. If they play with that fire and that mental toughness and physical toughness, we've accomplished something. Now, don't worry about wins and losses, really. Be competitive, be in games, play hard, play with a lot of desire. That other stuff's going to come.
However, I do think we can win games this year, though.
Yeah.
Like I say, you play with that fire, that intensity, you're going to win some games along the way and surprise some people when they've picked you to finish last in the north part of the Pac-12. There's a lot of opportunities to surprise and incentive. That is for sure. Okay, still to come on #Beavers Football. Nigel Burton will be here to take a in-depth look at the new defense, what to look for.
I think 3-4, the biggest adjustment is just playing free. You get more space, and I think you need a little more athleticism to play and run around. You get more freedom, you get more space to run around.
I mean, it's something I am built for, a lot of people say, and, I'm ready to excel in it. It makes me very excited to step on the field.
I think the transition is going to be fun. You're doing the same thing as DN would do, but you're just dropping in coverage more often. It's about like 50-50. But at the end of the day, it's just playing football, and that's what I'm here to do.
All right, talking about the change in defense going from the 4-3 to the 3-4. I want you to join the conversation. If you have any questions about that or anything else for the season for the Beavers, send in your tweets to #BeaversFB. But Slade, talk about that change.
I love it. I always wanted to play in a 3-4 defense. For my position, I would have been the stud backer. It's a little pass coverage, a whole lot of sacking the quarterback. It's perfect. And what it does is it puts more athletes on the field. It takes the defensive lineman off, adds another linebacker, safety athlete in there, and the flexibility it gives the defensive coordinator to do whatever you want to do. You can drop one of your players and only have 3 guys rushing the quarterback, or you can rush a ton of guys. With the 4-3, if you want to rush 3 guys, you drop a defensive end. Defensive ends, they can't cover. So it really gives you so much, like I said, flexibility with our defense.
And I think in this day and age of the spread, Slade, everybody's spreading out there, it's really forcing defenses, all over the country to play with a little bit smaller guys, a lot more athletic guys, because you're out in space, you're tackling out in space. And so the 3-4 allows exactly what you're talking about. There's more athletes standing up, and they can bring guys in different combinations. I mean, this defense, you're going to see them come after quarterbacks. They're going to come after the running game from different gaps with different people, cause all kinds of havoc because of all the guys standing up. Now, one key to the defense in a 3-4, Katie, is the nose guard. And I know we've got some high expectations, but isn't that right? You better have a guy in the middle that can play and take care of almost all 3 of those guys.
Protect his linebackers.
That's exactly right. Let those guys run around. So going to be key to watch that position.
Definitely.
All right, well, it is time for Burton's Breakdown with Nigel Burton, and he'll take a closer look and show you some of the visuals of the new defense here, brought to you by Standard TV and Appliance, setting the standards since 1947.
So let's take a look at some of the things that we'll see differently out of this Oregon State defense led by Kalani Sitake that you didn't see last year and in previous seasons under Mark Banker. Under Coach Banker, what you would see is a lot of aggressive defense, lots of blitzing, press man-to-man, in-your-face defense that would expose young secondary players at times. What you'll see this year is a lot more of bend, don't break, keep everything in front of you, and keep the pressure off of some of those young guys in the secondary that they need time to develop. So now what you'll see in their base coverage is what we call cover 2. In cover 2, what you'll see, and let's take a look at the spring game. In cover 2, what you'll have is the deep safeties splitting the deep half of the field. Each one of them responsible for any deep balls that go down the sidelines and in the middle of the field. Underneath, the field will be split into 5 different underneath zone areas that are covered by the corners and the linebackers. What this allows is for the young corners, including an old vet like Larry Scott, to not be exposed, not always be on their own. Now, even though it's bend, don't break, you still have the opportunity to make some great plays like we saw in the spring. Let's take a look. You get the double pass, a nice trick play, the corner shows up, but the safety is there deep, gets the pick, and returns it down the sideline. Hopefully the Beavers can get a lot of plays like this out of their secondary this fall.
Defense, any last comments based on what we saw there?
Well, to start off, that good-looking guy, I missed him. I'm excited to see him next week. But all those different quadrants, you can see him divide up the field. That's because you can get so many athletes out there at once. It makes it so hard for the quarterback to fit into those small spaces because those guys are fast. It's not a D lineman dropping out there. Like I said earlier, it's a linebacker safety. And so just the flexibility it gives, once again, I love the defense.
All right. Well, we still have the keys to the game coming up. But first, check him out arriving today.
Man, look at this guy.
Slade Norris on the way to Blitz Lad tonight for hashtag Beavers Football first show of the season. Join us. Tweet in your questions with his better half, I might add.
She makes me look a lot better right there.
You know what? You're not kidding.
She classes me up.
Katie, he likes that stud linebacker position.
All right, keys to the game. We'll start with the fans and what they had to say, tweeting in their keys to the game as they take on Weber State to open the season. Sean tweets in, 3rd down, convert, I think he meant on offense, and obstruct on defense. Devin writes, finding our new quarterback, not down with the 2-quarterback system. Well, BC Raw Daddy, make sure your team is ready to beat up a tomato can. No letdowns like previous years. And Renee writes in, I like that.
Oh, man.
Score more points in the allotted amount of time than Weber State. Very, very technical.
That's
there.
Always kid.
Oh, astute. I mean, those guys are good, though. They have some good points. I got to give it to them.
All right, so we want to score more points in that allotted time, Slade. So what are the keys to winning the opener?
If only I would have known that when I was playing. It would have changed the whole game for me. You know what? I really think we need to start with our running game. The 2 quarterbacks, they're going to need some help getting their feet wet, getting into that game, and a running game is going to do that. Storm, we know he's a proven guy. I want to see what our backups can do, especially Chris Brown. He busted on the scene last year a bit, and I really think he can add a lot to what this team does this year. He needs to work on some smaller things like pass blocking, but he can sure run the ball. If we can get up running right from the start. That'll ease up the rest of the game for us, and it really lead me into my next point was getting a quick start. First game of the season, the nerves are out there. I remember that, running out and you see everybody cheering. You know, they got the whole crowd for you. Get those out quickly and really step on their throat from the beginning. Let them know that we're the Pac-12 team. They have no business here, and send them packing early. We need to do that because we haven't done that in the past, and that's something that Oregon State has been a little lighthearted about. So if we can do that from the start, that's great. My last thing is contain Cameron Livingston. He's their star receiver. We know that going in. There's a lot of great athletes we're going to play the rest of this Pac-12 season. I mean, guys like Nelson Spruce, Colorado. I think he'll lead the Pac-12 in receiving yards this year.
Wow.
How do we take somebody like that away? Take him out of his game. I want to see how they react to a guy like that.
All right, Coach, your keys.
Well, my first one is, when you're playing in a first game, there's always mistakes being made. It's the first time you've done things, and you got to get over it mentally. You got to be able to fight adversity. Turnovers is always big. I think that you cannot turn over the ball if you're Oregon State. If you turn over the ball and give them chances to score, to stay in the game, it's going to be a problem. The longer they hang around, the worse it's going to be for the Beavers. And it's like that with any game that you're supposed to win. The longer a team's around, they get a little momentum and those kind of things. So turnovers
don't give them any
critical.
confidence.
Don't give them anything, Katie, especially the ball. So, and then the next thing is run the ball. Slade, I'm with you all the way. My big key in running the ball, too, is take pressure off the two quarterbacks. Because if we can run the ball, then they don't have to do anything spectacular in the passing game. We won't get ourselves in a critical third down where, it's got to be a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 15, 3rd and a performance that they have to make. Exactly. Get more than they're capable of doing right now with what we're doing. So run the ball. And I'm a big fan of Chris Brown's. I think this could be a coming out, I hope, game, and then the future games. And Storm, I'm a fan of Storm. So running the ball is critical. And then the last thing is, defensively, we cannot give up any big plays. A big play over your head, a break and a run on a 3rd and short, and the guy goes 80 yards or something. Don't do anything stupid like that. Make them earn it. Make them go 80 yards, 70 yards, and earn everything they get. Don't give them a cheap one. And again, mentally get them out of the game quick. I'm with you.
Which is exactly what Nigel said the defense is designed for. That bend but don't break. Keep everything in front of you.
Like that philosophy.
Perfect.
I'm with you.
Your team.
All right, well, one of the stories that came out in recent weeks is Dave Baldwin and his addiction to Diet Coke.
Saw that.
Strange but true. Oregon State offensive coordinator Dave Baldwin drinks 16 to 18 Diet Coke
80, that
per day.
Can't be good for you.
I mean, that's insane. So no shortage of energy on the sideline tomorrow night.
That reminds me of Keaton Christek, our old middle linebacker.
Yeah.
I never saw him without a cup of coffee.
Is that right?
Caffeine constantly. So they're very similar, those two, I guess.
Coach Baldwin's budget for that? I mean, seriously, think of that. 16, 18
I wonder if that's written into his contract.
I'm sure they're sending him for free at this point.
my
and he's
goodness.
that. I mean,
Coach, you need an endorsement. We got to talk.
That's right. All that.
That's about 1 an hour while he's awake.
That's unbelievable.
Wow.
It's a lot of bathroom trips.
Yes, too. Oh, man.
Any addictions that you have or things you like?
I'm not even close to that. I mean, really, that 18. Oh, my goodness. I can't even. That still is mind-boggling to me.
Having to brush my teeth a lot.
Hey, it's going to be fun, though. It really is. I'm so looking forward to what's coming and the new era and the changes and all those kind of things. I know I speak for a lot of Beaver fans out there. This is exciting times and getting it started tomorrow. I don't like Friday nights because it takes away from high school football, but other than that, go get them, Beavs.
Yes, well, good luck to you and your but of course, I will be at Reser Stadium tomorrow night cheering the Beavers on, so say hello. We see you there, and we will be back next week on Friday night at 9 o'clock. Coach is going to be coaching, but Nigel Burton will be here with us. So enjoy the opener, 5 o'clock Friday night, and then CSN Game Day, of course, 9 a.m. on Saturday. And we'll see you back here next Friday night.
There we go.
Beavers! Thanks for joining us, everyone.